welcome. We're Talkaoke. We are the pop-up talk show here at the Festival of Genomics. We want to find out why you've been at the festival today. Why have you been at the festival today, sir? To present. What have you been presenting? Grab a seat. What's your name, first of all? Easy one.
It's Uli.
Uli.
Yeah, it's from Israel.
What have you been presenting today?
I'm presenting my preliminary results from the study.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? Can you tell us how it was received as well? Has it been fairly positive?
I haven't presented yet.
You haven't presented?
Yeah,
when are you presenting? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, well, good. Best of luck for tomorrow. What are you presenting? What brings you to the Festival of Genomics?
My research is in the field of behavioral genetics. I'm researching the link of DNA methylation of the psychological traits of the extroversion and introversion.
This is very interesting because a little bit earlier, I think someone came and sat down at the table and they were kind of saying, she asked a question to the table, which was, what do you think of these sort of genetics companies that offer sequencing to, tell you whether you've got a gene for empathy or something like that, and so and the kind of implications like, well, I think they're charlatans, or I think it's not really something that you can sequence for. But however, you're doing research in this area, so I don't know whether we've got some people who work in the area. Is that right? William, do you work? What kind of area do you work in within genetics? Genomics.
Genomics and network analysis, but on the field of aging and space biology.
Oh, okay, so aging and space biology. So looking at how aging happens in space, or a bit both? Come and have a seat, guys.
That's a long story, both, but space is a model for accelerated aging. So basically animals and astronauts in space, so they look like they are aging also. They seem to be aging faster on space. So my pitch when I tried to find money on that, and I still am, like everything you find to the astronauts up there can help us down here. So it's nice, space, and I think everyone will be younger from our time. So please just give me money, I'll try my best.
Okay, wow, I think we've struck gold here because we've got two people. One, you're looking at the gene for extroversion and introversion, or just extroversion, is that right? Come and grab a seat.
The same thing. You look on the same trait, like different sides of the same trait.
What are your thoughts about I think it was Anna earlier who was like, I think these companies that offer you a test to say, oh yes, you're an empath, or you're good at
isn't like a single gene for this trait.
Yeah.
Most of any trait is made up of several hundred of genes interacting with each other. Also, I'm specifically researching the epigenetic level of this gene because it's a highly connected trait to the environment. At least from the early study, we got some results from how the environment reacts with our genes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the early bit, like if you live in like a very loving household, are you more likely to be extroverted, or?
Well, I don't know if it. Yes.
Oh, I've got a question. I'm sorry. I'm just really interested in your research now.
This is research that I've done myself, but not in an academic sense, but just amongst friends. Because I read an article in the magazine that said introverts sleep face down and extroverts sleep face up. And I don't know if they can do some genetic studies on that, but I have noticed it to be true amongst a small sample of friends.
Okay, Louis, do you want to...
I'm an introvert and I sleep face down. I mean, yeah, totally.
Oh, there we go. So maybe... Okay, so do you... I mean... So where are we going to go with this? Margot?
I wonder whether there's a link. I mean, are you a better fundraiser for research projects if you're an introvert or extrovert? I just wonder.
I'm going to go back to our expert over here.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think that you can be a good fundraiser either way. Depends how charismatic are you, how good are you on convincing other people. I don't think it's really related whether you're extroverted or introverted, because extroverted is more where your internal energy is coming from. Whether you're focused on the outside sources or inward. You know.
And you were saying you're interested in epigenetics and like how the environment maybe like expresses these genes. Have you found any correlation in the environment to how the genes are expressed, or is it all?
Yeah, well, it's a very we have a very small study with about 100 participants, but we did find some correlation on changes in DNA methylation on some genes who are correlated to neural activity in the oxytocin signaling pathway in the brain. Yeah.
So, and that can be random, or, I mean, my thought is here, as someone is sitting in the middle of the table, you hear this, surely that someone's like, right, you know, maybe I'm going to have a baby, how am I going to make them an introvert, how am I going to make them an extrovert?
Well, it is also highly genetic. I mean, if you're extroverted, there's a high chance that your baby will be extroverted too, but you can't really make your baby introverted or extroverted.
So even with this information, we may be, I don't know, maybe you lack some control, or?
You might have some, you can't really control it because you only have some control on your baby's environment. He's going to school, he has teachers and everything, so you can't really 100% control it, and also it's highly genetic, so if you want to have an introverted baby or extroverted, you can't really control it.
Okay, we've got a few more hands over here. I'm going to go to Rob first.
Sorry, maybe you already said, but what are some of the environmental factors that cause the epigenetic changes? Which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it was a bit of, oxytocin. Was that right?
Yeah, we don't really know actually. The genetic and epigenetic research in psychology is very, very little and on the beginning. I don't know any other research groups that try to study the links between epigenetics and psychology. There are several labs that are trying to link psychiatry and epigenetics and genetics, but it's not personality and attachment.
Why do you think that is? Because I mean, like William, you also work in a field but in a different area. Like what? Like
I just like a question like how do you measure that? Because if you really want to see epigenetic patterns, you have to see the epigenetic patterns where it matter. And in this case, you'll be in the brain, and you cannot like kill the kid and like take the thing. You kind of can, but you're going to jail and no one's going to publish your data, and you're going to be a terrible person. So how do you deal with that? Like how you correlate the epigenetic patterns in other parts that's not necessarily the part that's important to whatever you're trying to measure.
Oh, you're very popular today. We've got a lot of questions for you. Yeah. I know.
Thank you. Being in the right place at the right time. So, again, it's a very good question, and various of other researchers have asked this question. We can't. I mean, the short answer is that we can't. We can't measure the brain. We can only measure brain after the participant had died, which also raises some questions if something happens in the brain after the participant is dead, but we can measure.
You can measure.
We can measure something with like a proxy sample. For example, if you sample the saliva, the cells inside your mouth are from the same developmental layer as the brain. So we know that the epigenetic markers in the saliva is highly correlated to the same pattern as the brain, but you can't really make the direct connection between anything. It's not just psychological. If you want to study something, you need to sample the exact region. You can do it.
Okay, I mean, I think I feel like Margot, you've got a point. I'm very interested in your research. I have kind of got that we've got William here who also works in space biology and aging, so I feel like we've got quite a lot to dig into there as well. But I'm going to go to Margot first.
I mean, did you say that your research is like quite niche?
Yeah.
How niche is how niche is your research?
Was famous enough to be invited to talk tomorrow, so that's good. But but the good thing is that it was quite niche until 4 or 5 years ago, when for you to get things that was analyzed in space, we have to make a proposal, and everything got okay, everything likes you, everything gets your like your idea, the approval, they give you money, and then they say to you, okay, so we're going to turn on the queue, and everything's fine. In 10 years, you're going to have your printed back, and then you can analyze it. No. So it was quite complicated because it's quite difficult, and not that a lot of people have. It's still quite difficult. Still not a lot of people have. But NASA now have a different database called Genomics. Where they not only put every data they know there was ever published, so you can give a look again. But what they have now is a new policy. For example, you propose to analyze the brain of mice because you want to see if the nice mice and the introvert mice are different. Now, we can do mice, we can do children, but our friend here only asked us for the brain. Never asked us for the liver, never asked us for the muscle, never asked us for the kidneys. Just asked us for the brain. So you receive the brain. So what to do with the rest? In the trash? They never did that, of course. They was putting in the database was someone asked it to happen. What they do now, they try to do now, is take that samples that were never tested for, analyze it, and make it accessible to anyone who would like to do analysis on that. Of course, not everything. It's not like free for all the thing that everything you can have, you will have, but they really have a lot of more things. And it's free for the user. Anyone here, anyone that was going to talk tomorrow, everyone can be a space biologist now. Everyone can go there, download the data and do. And this is basically what we did. I started that 4 years ago, 5 years ago. We started with the group to decide what to publish, and we ended up in the cover of Cell in 2020. And just, whoa, what's happened? And as I said, one of the things, not only is nice because it's not by itself, because for God's sake, space, but the thing is, a lot of things happen in space. Seems to be whatever happens with us, but faster.
Okay.
So if you find a way to make this go slower, then we found a way to get slower down here too. Well, everyone wants to be younger for longer. So that's basically what I'm trying to do.
Fantastic. So, and I mean, Rod, you want to come in on this?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if space is a model for accelerated aging, then should we all be should we be living in like IG environments and just sort of like stomping around and living forever? I mean, what I'm trying to ask is why is space? Why do we age faster in space? It's really interesting.
Why do we age faster in space? Can you answer that, William?
Yeah, that's a nice and difficult question to answer. Briefly for two things. First, a lot of radiation. Second, no gravity. Radiation by itself increases your rate of mutations, but is one of the things of aging. We accumulate mutations, so we accumulate mutations faster in space because of radiation. And second, one of the biggest thing on aging is that as you grow old, you start to be more frail. It's not that easier to get your muscles. And in space, there is no gravity. And evolution have one thing, they have not realized that we now have freebies and you can buy McDonald's. No, they think we're going to starve to death, so they try to, everything that is much expensive to use and you're not using, they just, okay, they don't need it anymore. So we start to lose a lot of muscle mass if you don't exercise. And this is a great thing on the macro of period. What our study discovered, and a great reason why I got invited here, is because we did a big analysis on omics, and we have like really dozens of tissues and different technologies and different animals, And when we put things together, we were able to see there was thing in common that could be a central part of what's happening. That's mitochondrial dysfunction. My favorite organelle, and by the way, also one of the hallmarks of aging, that's mitochondrial dysfunction. So there's a lot of things together again. So
Has anyone else got a favourite organelle? You got a favourite organelle? Of course.
Yeah, the brain.
The brain.
Yeah, so organelle like inside the cell.
yeah, lysosome.
Oh, yeah, the mitochondria. Oh,
There we go. It's famous.
yeah.
So we have to go. Okay, so before you go, leave us with a final thought to keep the table warm.
Tell us your favourite organelle as well.
Mitochondria.
Yeah, already told it.
Keep up, like,
So the is the nucleus an organelle? The nucleus counts as an organelle?
No, it's not the organelle itself, it's part of the cell.
Okay.
it's debatable.
Yeah, so only the mitochondria. Favorite, sorry.
Leave us with a final thought for the table.
I can only invite you to take a personality test and try to figure out whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert. I mean, you can be in the middle. Yeah.
Oh. Would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert? Can't get involved. What's your name? Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
My name's Azar. I think I probably fall somewhere in between, maybe like
An
yeah.
ambivert. That's what
I just want to
it's
say before you go, there's a guy earlier on came and said that personality tests are bullshit. It's not me saying it, it's a guy earlier on said it. When we were talking about these dubious tests for personality traits.
Based on genes.
Yeah, they were saying, what was it, Myers-Briggs is bullshit. And is it just that one or all personality?
Have to defend the field. And, there are some personality tests who are very highly popular and highly well, they're not scientifically proven, but there are some personality tests like the Big Five theory or other the Big Five, which is highly researched, highly empirical proven. So there is. It's not all bullshit.
Before you go, do you feel like you have to defend the field? You're doing a lot of research into personality and epigenetics. Do you find as a researcher you have to defend your position a lot?
Yeah, because personality psychology on the whole is it has a lot of bad publicity, especially after all the replication crisis thing. But it is highly researched and had some improvement in the replication.
Fantastic, thank you, Yuri. Thank you for joining us. And then we're going to
I'm just interested in this, but I went to a talk in 2015 about a guy from a little known company called Cambridge Analytica. This was before it all blew up, and he said, this is what we do. And there was a talk actually about democracy and how they were kind of gaining democracy, but proudly so, not in an undercover way actually. But they said they used the Ocean personality test, and he said it was bullshit, but it still worked for what they wanted. You can still use a flawed personality test, and it still works for their purposes.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, we're going to go, what's your name?
I can comment on that. Alon, Israeli. So I want to comment on the Cambridge Analytica. So the trait was high in openness, and the big five personality traits, it's like the AI extrapolated. So if you let AI check big data set, this came to the big five, and that's the reason Cambridge Analytica, they came when they scan Facebook. So it's really easy to scan the data and understand that it's openness traits which correlate to people voting. So you can take the openness trait and see if it's a Democrat or Republican, and then this is the ability for AI to check social media and know where to market and where to invest in marketing. And so it's correlated as well to genetics, I understand.
Yes, well, it sounds like you're doing speaking tomorrow is doing some research on epigenetics and extrovert and introvert. You have to go. Thank you very much for taking part of it. You definitely kicked it off. And then so doing some research about whether you can how introversion and extroversion is expressed. Is that correct? Yes. So if you want to catch that, you're speaking tomorrow. What time?
At 1:15. 1:15 at the live lounge.
So attend that tomorrow at 1:15 at Live Lounge and come back here and tell us what's going on because we'll be here tomorrow as well. But I mean, how do people feel? I feel like personality tests, is it linked to genetics, is it not? Is it fraudulent? Is it something we want to research in? Where are we going to go with this?
One thing I kind of figure out is other people's backgrounds, so that might be a useful thing to figure out. But mostly because I'm kind of curious is there much statistical correlation with neuroimage data and personality, or sort of like perception per se? Say, for example, within neurons, you kind of see that. Oh, yeah.
Williams is an okay. Carry on.
Movie Gattaca.
Yes.
Wonderful movie, you know. I always tell my students when they say it's too old, like, it's young Jude Law. No, I'm going to say no to young Jude Law. And then normally the girls don't have no comments on that. But it's a really nice discussion about what your genes could define what you can do. The whole thing like, so if you don't have the right genes, you're not being an astronaut. This is part of the definition. You know, like your genes will be part of what you are, but it's not the definition of what you are. It's not. This is true for diseases, this is true for health, but this is true for your brain. So just to make this a point.
So you're saying like it's maybe a little bit more complicated. It's much more complicated than we think, and so maybe we're being too reductive. But Alon, you had a point.
Yeah, I wanted to say about neuro. So in the year 2020, I made a big, let's say, international neuro conference. So I created a conference and I invited 100 entrepreneurs. And I spoke to all the neuro devices, all the EEG helmets and all these kind of devices, little things. And apparently today you already can map a specific neural network to a specific activity of a person. So it's possible to actually train and be conscious aware on a specific neural network. For example, if it's a PTSD treatment, so you can do like what people do today, and this is like in the clinical trials. So you can do an MRI for a person to understand, let's say, his amygdala response to certain, let's say to PTSD, you see like an increase in amygdala response, which is an area that responds on emotions. And then you correlate to an EEG. You can correlate it with AI to an EEG. And then you have ability to basically train yourself or do some meditation and to be aware when certain parts of your brain are being activated. So this is like increasing self-awareness with a specific neural network that you can train. Now, if this is related to genetics, I have no idea, but I guess there is some relation to genetics. If somebody knows about how memory works and how genetics are involved in memory for the specific neurons, I would love to hear. So you have knowledge on that. How memory is stored in the level of the network of the brain in relation to genetics.
Okay, so yeah, Alan's question is kind of like the intersection between neurology. Who had a point? It's all right, we can go through many points.
I was just asking if there's any memory experts in the house.
I've forgotten. Margot, you got a point?
About memory and genetics. I have literally forgotten half of it.
Margot, can you enlighten us? So yeah, we're talking a bit about...
I wanted to do it again, but it was a bit earlier on because we were talking about the personality test. And it was actually more a question to William whether you need to be whether it's better to be a particular star sign to work in space genomics. But
it was a game.
Oh, okay. So okay, so I can go to this point and this point. But, yeah, no, I can go to your point too. So, but the thing about again about memory, you know, there's a lot of people here talking about artificial intelligence and how neural networks think, and they're talking about the connections for one. So it's not your memory is not in your genes to begin with. You don't have memory genes. You have patterns on your brain that are built because of your life, and these patterns are maintained. We have our memories, and they have the activation circuits and so on. And the circuits are not always there, but it's done by learning, so nurture. And if you have any problem on your brain, you have like a really hard hit on your head, even your genetics is exactly the same. You can lose your whole memory. So yes, there again, memory have a genetic aspect of it, IT and so on, but your memory is built upstream of your genetics with your evaluation. So another thing. Getting back to your question about space, no, we have space for everyone else. We work with microbiome and transcriptomics and genomics and everything we can access to, because everything really gives, like this is the paper I'm working with about multi-omics integration, and it's, to say the truth, like this is the question of the field, the whole field. You have this difficult genomics and how we put the whole thing together. Most part of the people don't know, and we just do our best.
Fantastic. Thank you, William. Slow mic drop there. You've got to go. Give us a final thought.
Okay, so for example, yeah, you can sort of like think about brains, neural network architectures, but that's probably not the best way to think about how the mind works, because you have something like there's a whole field called neuromorphic computing that attempts to represent how analog signals and how the brain, the brain can be represented through these sets of analog signals. Yeah, I think Gatsby kind of like does a lot of research on that. But then there's the sort of like separate point that there is some relationship between sort of like brain structures and your genomics, but I don't think the causal relationship is probably that strong, because I imagine that, say for example, stressor impacts, sort of like socioeconomics and stuff, start to impact large brain structures, and that might likely start influencing how, not just how people sort of like people's personalities, but even in terms of how people perceive reality. Because there is like some research, mostly Professor James Cole, I think his research, his like PhD thesis was mostly focused on the relationship between the two. But then increasingly I'm sort of like unsure about the strong causal relationships between the two. But I do think, say for example, like you can take this multi-omic approach, understand the neuroimaging data set, and then from that you can ask like very constrained questions, like how do people perceive reality in terms of which aspects of reality are they kind of interacting. But even then, the sort of like mathematical description for that might not overlap with what's actually happening in the brain, because this is like a huge problem in theoretical neuroscience, that we have great mathematical descriptions, but does it actually line up with reality? Not too sure. But I'll kind of hand this over and
This is very exciting. I'm going to go to Alon. Do you want to pitch in, and then I'll go to Rod and then Margot.
So regarding the no relation, so it says there is no relation. So let's say I have an image of me as a child, and I have it stored in my brain somewhere. Where do you think it's stored? Do you think it's stored like an electrical current that all the time operating, or is it something that is stored and saved in the level of epigenetic? What do you think is like the place that store it? Do you think it's all the time stored as like what is the data, like what is a hard drive? So the hard drive is in the level of molecule and epigenetics. It's wrong when you say that it's not there. So give me another explanation. Where do you think an image is stored?
Okay. Where do you think an image is stored from a biologist point of view?
Philosophical.
Or a philosophical point of view?
I can talk about the philosophical point, and I can talk about the biological point. So I agree with you up to a point that experience in the body are stored in their epigenetic imprint. Now, if you do a lot of exercise, genetics, if you do, we eat a lot of McDonald's, we let me get to my point. You are too hasty, little guy. So yes, this gives you an imprint on your DNA. So far so good, and I agree with that. But saying that information will be
You're studying right now, so you're probably quite familiar.
in my brain, like different cytozymes on my DNA. That's much more different than to have. As far as I know about storage information in the brain, and again, I'm not a neuroscientist here, but I work at a little bit at one point, is that you have patterns of not only of the neurons, but pattern of the connection between the neurons. And I forget the name here right now.
Neural networks?
And you have the neural networks, and the circuit that you go, and then you get something that gets memory, the circuit that you build related to that sequence, get there, and then you have the image. So it's not your DNA, but in your brain. Up, if you think epigenetics as the broad definition would be up of the genome, then I agree with you, it's up of the genome. But if you think about cytosine DNA methylation and stone acetylation and so on, then I would say that would be much more capsule about it.
I'm interested to know about your response to this. And maybe tell us a bit about what you're doing in the genetics as well. Like, what's your background?
Who's listening?
What's your response to William? That's three at the moment.
What is the call?
Which is why we're asking about
I invested in a few domains over the years. I invested in a few companies, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm a entrepreneur, and that's what I'm doing.
And what's your response?
My response is like, if you think about level of saving information, so we have the level of connectome. We will say there is a level of connectome where information is stored by the neural structures, so the connection between the neurons. Then we think what will be a level below that. I will say the level below that will be epigenetic level. So it's in the level, so instead of maintaining a connection between two neurons, in say one neuron can store a few different options of something. And then if we look at like a very long term, so this is long term. So if you think about an image for 50 years, you say, where's the image is stored? The level, you say it's a level of connectome and will not be the level of epigenome. This is basically, but the difference I might say, it's rather small, because as the level of connectome, it means that the neurons they become a little bit longer, and here it's like some peptide, or like methylation, a small methylation. I don't know, like to say if it's I think in theory we will try to preserve data with the lowest energy as possible, not in the way of extending and using all the neurons for an image. I'm just thinking about a single image. How we store video or image. Do store video and image. Where the hell is going in? So
actually it's still
I don't know. I will go for the direction of epigenetics in single neural.
So yeah, I think I want to sort of like talking about how do we store memories, how do we recall memories, are they stored at the same level of biology as something like epigenetics? I'm going to go to Mikey first and then William.
I know this is a little bit tangent, but I don't think we actually do store images in the brain. As an artist, it's impossible to do a photographic reproduction without continually looking at an image, because we can't actually store image information. We can only really store sort of a series of instructions or descriptions of an image. So that's why children, anyone really drawing that's not an expert artist will just draw like a circle for a face and kind of cartoonize the nose, because that is a series of instructions graphically represented. And image information, if you think about it, it doesn't make sense to store image information in the brain because it's very information heavy for actually a scene that you could describe in a few words. So we answers, I don't think we store images in the brain, but just ideas.
Just ideas. William.
I have to start with trying to see how I'm going to say, because I have to say something really strong, but I understand how you arrive on that now. First, I think you are ultimately and definitively wrong on your conclusion. But I agree with where you begin with. So DNA can store really a large amount of information. Really much more than how we can think right now. No, the whole of you, everything you are now, becomes one cell. One cell with one copy of your DNA made everything you are today. And all the cells you have in your body have basically exactly the same DNA. This is how much information you have on that. So the idea that DNA can store information is real and it happens. That's I agree with you. That epigenetics by itself is a way to store information. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's a complementary and parallel way of store and organize information that interacts with the DNA to make more different things. Because you know, if all your cells came from one cell, why have so many different cells? Well, they have to act in different ways. And this one epigenetic growth. Epigenetics is going to maintain different patterns of expression in different cells. So far, I am agreeing with you. So I agree with your premise. What, in my professional opinion, you are wrong, is to make the jump between storing genetic information to storing the information our brain has, our life. That's my definition. If you think about computers only work with 0 and 1. No, they work with 0 and 1. This is how computers do. Everything they do is working 0 and 1. Or they're activated, or they're not activated. Our neurons can work in exactly the same way, but much more complicated. Because our neurons, or there's some electric current is passing through it, or it's not. Exactly what happens.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'll probably message you and get sort of like, yeah, it's like and get more like thank you so much, man. It's also like you're very good at like you're really good at public speaking. It's like something that I would break into because I'm starting to realize I don't even stay in academia all the time. So yeah.
What's the difference between a brain of someone that was alive and then just had a heart attack and is dead in 10 seconds? The structure is exactly the same. The DNA is there, the epigenetic is there. And you totally cannot make this brain get back again because the brain lost the capacity of passing energy to it. And because the energy is not passing, and now is now zero, not a complex combination of zero, then the brain is there. So the information is on the brain level, and not on the genetic level. Although, and this is the part I totally agree with you, there's a lot of information on the genetic level. So just doing these.
Thank you, William. I think a very thorough argument there, and I think it's quite interesting. This is interesting. So Alana's just using some chat GPT right now. You said interesting. You said the answer. We've had some other people talking today. So we spoke to a researcher who said that he uses chat GPT because in his job he's a researcher. He has to communicate with the public about what he's doing, and he finds it very difficult to write. So he uses ChatGPT to talk about what he does. Then he fact checks it, and then he publishes that. So he says a lot of the time it's not necessarily factually correct, but it's a tool that he uses because he has to do a lot of science communication in his job, and he doesn't really like doing it. So it's interesting that, Alon, you went to ChatGPT. Why did you go to it in this moment? And we've got a new person at the table. Just quickly tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Raj. I'm an AI engineer. I work for
Perfect. You've in the good time. Although, why do you turn to ChatGPT in this moment?
Because when I hear no is not possible, then I go to ChatGPT and I say, is it possible? Is it possible? Is there research or so link between epigenetics and storing memory in the brain? And of course, the answer is yes. So the answer is yes. There are few models and few people who don't really know, but of course there will be evidence to the direction of yes. And related to the do not store images direction, we only store it again is a no. So because I don't say I know, but both of you and both of my colleagues here say they know that it doesn't work this way. So you do not, so by your claim you do not store, and I think that claiming that there is no relation between two things is much harder claim than me making a theory in order to do philosophy here. So I will find both of these claims. I will find the ChatGPT the answer, which I enjoy. Will we say, of course, yes, and give me some example of researchers that we conducted and shows that yes, there is a relation. We do not know fully understand the brain yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are so many things going on there that I'm really kind of trying to pull them apart. And we've got AI expert here. We've got a new face on the table. What's your name?
My name is Ching Li.
Ching Li. What's your name?
William, that's it.
William. What's your name?
Yeah, from there I did a design.
I'm Evie.
I graduated and when I graduated.
Margaret. Okay, William, you have to go. So give us a final thought. We were talking about philosophy. We were talking about neurobiology. We were talking about personality tests. We've been talking about ChatGPT. Leave us with a final thought before you go.
I would say to my students, nice story, now show me the data.
Fantastic, show me the data. And if you want to catch William's talks about aging and space biology, it is happening tomorrow at 11. Go to that, come back here and tell us what you found out. We had some chat about AI before. What are your thoughts from just sort of having sat in and listened to our conversation just now?
Right, so, well, AI is all over the place. There's a lot of hype about those large language models like GPT and ChatGPT on top of that. There's a lot of really cool things happening in different languages. So that language models used for processing sequence trace, structures like alphabet. Well, we've just recently published a model for genomes, which is just entire genomes and give you actionable insights. So as my colleague on the left said, there's so much that we don't know about natural language, about biology, those large ML models. Help us. If they are wrong, they are terribly wrong, because they're wrong in an insidious way. It looks right, but it makes sense, it looks internally consistent, and that's for example why we can believe that there is a connection between genetics and whatever. It may be true, it may not be true. I didn't get it.
I can give it a recap.
Yeah, so
the point that you're making,
those are beautiful tools, but you need this real human brain to check on them, and make sure the results are right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it's like a lot of today we've been talking about AI within genomics research. There's a growing demand for it, and then I think it's a very interesting point. I'll be interested to see what everyone else thinks. Can it, when it goes wrong, it can go wrong in a really big way. I mean, there's a bit of a nod there. Can you explain a little bit more? Saying what your name is as well.
My name is Nancy. I'm a master's student at UCL studying genetics and molecular medicine. So I don't even understand what you're talking about, but I can relate to what you're saying about the AI going wrong for some specific reasons. Because if it goes wrong, then we're just not risking. We're risking lives. We're risking a lot of things that we're still not sure about it. But at the same time, it has its potential and other stuff. But when it comes to genomics itself is just like a very big word. So, like we're talking about next generation sequencing, but we're still trying to even understand it. So I don't know where AI fits exactly in it right now. but that's what I
Response here from Alon, and then I'm going to
I will say a big claim again.
Oh, yes.
I think I see I see the nanopore. The nanopore is $1,000 already. It's crazy. It was like $10,000 a few years ago. And before that, it's like millions. No? So when you see the nanopore, we see the Amazon Web Services, and we see the AI models. I don't know what's happened in a few years. I will take a guess that everybody do this with their phone, and the AI will replace everybody here. Because the ability to go with AI on big data is unbelievable. A human cannot do that. And so what can we do? So we are all humans are somehow mechanisms of the FDA to make the wet biology. In some ways, we need us as patient or as some kind of wet biologist. But it's look like everything is shrinking to be like some kind of I don't know. In few years, it's just one algorithm that control everything on this genetics. Because what can you do with this is.
I mean, that's your response. So, I mean, yeah, do we think that a lot of the people here, a lot of the things here will be replaced by AI in a couple of years? Mikey played a sinister music. Do you agree that's a sinister development? It might not be.
Do you think AI would cure cancer?
Do you think AI will cure cancer? Immediate yes over here.
Very well example. We work on cancer vaccines, so personalized cancer treatments, and the survival rate of our patients has doubled in the last 3 years. Excuse me? Because of AI, because of use of large pre-trained machine learning models in sort of new attack.
You've got a lot of questions now. How does the AI help people then recover faster? I guess,
Also, in this case,
recover, full stop.
So in this case, it's immunotherapy. So what's usually used to stimulate the immune system, and there are a few things. One key bit is the new antigen selection. So essentially, you need to find what do you want to use to stimulate. What's the mutated part of your protein that you want to stimulate the immune system with. If you pick the right one, well, you will generate T cells, antibodies, and so on that attack the tumor. If you pick the wrong one, you will cause a massive autoimmune response. So you don't really do that. And the cancer patients are quite sick, and you don't really get multiple chances. A, treatment is expensive. B, it's really you can do a lot of harm. So we, for example, know that for the cancers with big epitopes like breast cancers, melanomas, and so on, there are already AI designed treatments that are in clinical trials, and some of them may be close to being approved. So I think they're aware.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I mean, so that's quite like a clear, like interesting way to describe it. I mean, I don't know if anyone's got more questions, or Nancy, you work in research. I don't know what kind of background you're coming from. How does it affect you?
I'm a final year PhD student. Actually, I'm a data scientist and also using machine learning. Not that AI yet, but I'm very interested in using this modern technology, trying to tackle for example, cancer genomics questions. Because I'm working on cancer, I'm very interested how could we use those technologies and digging out more actionable information and in very cost-effective way, for example. So I wouldn't see that as a yes or no question, yes, AI would cure cancer or not, because that could be combination with many other cutting-edge technologies and with many traditional methods. But if I'm saying if AI is very important for cure cancer in the future, my answer is definitely yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got kind of a mix. So I feel like we've got a pro AI team, maybe some skepticism, maybe some issues for it to go wrong. Alon?
I have a question for the data scientist. So we see all the AI algorithm, we see ChatGPT. So what is now the main engine that is the AIs that operating, that we can upload the sequence? I'm not talking about BLAST or QIGen. I'm saying that what can be like the free academic or home service that we can use that will give us like amazing information. Similar, it's like the OpenAI models. But where is this for genetics? What is you think the leading one, and where it will come from? Or is there already one now?
Okay, no, pitch in.
Yeah, so the problem with genetics is that most of the exciting information is actually widespread through the genome. So you have, say, promoter sequences, enhancers, and so on, thousands of bases upstream from your actual gene. And for that, you need a relatively large receptive window. You need the model to look at a large bit. So in natural language, perhaps you have 20, 50 words in a sentence. Here, you're looking at thousands of tokens. Our models have around 200,000 tokens in one window. But for that, you need a lot of hardware. You need really powerful GPUs, you need a lot of compute. So that's not happening on your phone just yet. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is about $100,000 a day cost for the authors. It's just for as a running cost, so it's quite a bit of an expense.
Yeah.
But it all gets cheaper. As sequencing got cheaper, well, just the other day I sent my sample to get sequenced for $200 for a whole genome sequencing 30x. So it's so the same way. The same way. Machine learning will get and AI will get cheaper. There's one distillation. There are ways to make it cheaper when it works.
Okay, so if it works, then your response is yes, it get cheaper, and actually, yeah, people will. But will people want to have like a personalised genome sequencing test at home? There's of course over here. People are scared.
I'll tell you why. Because we had this question, and people are just scared of finding out. For example, let's assume someone finds out he's gonna get Huntington's. Is he gonna get married? That's the question. So people are just scared to find out what they might have, or will have, or will develop, and it's not that easy as well. And there's also the issue of privacy. Where is all this data stored? Okay, it's so simple for us to go and sequence every single genome, but where is this data stored? It can be used against you, like by the insurance companies, and that's still a big problem. So it's not as easy as people think it is, or not quite as simple as.
Yeah, so scared from a privacy point of view, and then also maybe what you actually going to find out point of view.
Earlier on we were talking about a data key so that you could encrypt your genome and then only give permission to certain researchers that you felt really trusted. So you wouldn't give your key to the insurance company unless you felt like it would lower your premium. But yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I think that will hopefully become standard, that your genome will become encrypted in a way that only you have got the key to, or your sister in your case is an identical twin.
Yes, I've got an identical twin, which maybe is more interesting at Festival Genomics than it is at any other time of the year.
For the fun of it, I will say that, who cares, the insurance company, data privacy, I do think that this is very minor things. It's like, who cares about this information? What insurance company can do with your personal data? Unless we're talking about like synthesizing like a specific DNA strand that will attack specific people, like warfare, but I don't think it's like, if a person will get ill you mean that with the years people are scared to do genetics because they know the future. And because they know the future, other people will know the future about them and can use them against them, right? So this is the direction I think that
Yeah. So we've got a response. I mean, we've got Alan who's saying that actually maybe the insurance.
No, I can go for both directions. I don't care. No, I understand.
Now she's got a response. I'll let you clarify and then we can go
First of all, you don't have just the kit at your home. You go to a company, okay, and that company sequences your genome. You don't know where they store it. You don't know where the cloud is. You don't know who has access to the information. Let's assume the insurance company has access to all this information and someone is getting diabetes. You cannot cure it now. I'm not saying that in the future we won't be able to cure it, but for now you can. So where is this data stored? How can you make sure that this data is stored securely and only used for the purposes of education? You cannot be sure of that now.
Okay, we've got a response.
Yeah, so you're right.
privacy, you guys want to join? We're talking about security of data, genomic data,
You're
it's getting
completely right.
spicy. So
We cannot be sure that our data is stored secure and so on. But the same way, there is also this also stored somewhere. You're not doing your glucose test at home. So there's some amount of faith. That's true, but well,
I'll put it to you.
well, yes, you can. You get sequenced by a company, it will be stored, and then it gets stored in their hard disk in the same way as your banking data is stored at your bank. It's all stored. It's good money, but the moment the data leaks, the company goes bankrupt. The company is liable to lawsuits.
Okay, so your point is actually for any kind of genomics company, it's so their privacy is so integral to like how they make money that they're going to essentially almost be risk free. They're going to be risk free in that respect because that's how they build their reputation. Nancy, I feel like you've got a disagreement on this potentially. I really want to hear your thoughts, but before that, I'm going to go to Margot.
As someone on the outside of science, I'm really personally interested in how I capitalize on my genome. Because I don't have a lot of money and I would like to have a key to my genome and just see how I can learn, how I can pitch it, how I can earn money on it. I mean, this is a really terrible example, but people understand how to sell the kidney or whatever. How do I sell the genome and how much will I get from it? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay, we've got Nancy has to go, so I'm going to give us your final thoughts.
Thank you all for this. This was really interesting, and I hope that the world evolves, and that we have the security, and that's what I'm interested in. So thank you.
Fantastic, thank you Nancy. Come and join the table. We've been discussing, actually Alon earlier said that potentially a lot of people and things in this room will be replaced with
We head tomorrow, so for you too.
I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, just in relation to that, I want to ask you, so this I didn't know. So you say that to train an AI model on genome is much more complex than a language model. Much more. So how much complex we're talking about? And because 100,000 a day for the ChatGPT, so what we're talking about genome? We talk millions a day. This is so you can actually mathematically understand it. So you know the mathematics. Not that we know, but you can give estimate what we're talking about.
Okay, I'm going to take your response. Just we've got a new face at the table, so I'm just going to do a quick round of names. What's your name?
Alexandru. Alon.
Jimmy. Margot.
Mikey.
Right, so ChatGPT is so expensive because it's used a lot. It's used by thousands, millions of people every day. Well, genomics is popular, but it's not that popular. It all depends what you want to do. So I know that training these models is tricky. It took us weeks on a really large cluster of Cambridge model. But running it on say classes the characteristics of variants to identify say promoters in the genome. That's pennies. That's less than a pound per hour. So it's not really expensive to do for an individual sample. Doing it at scale may get more expensive, and the main problem is actually the upfront cost of the hardware.
Okay, so this idea of like if you do want personalised medicine, if we do want to kind of have access to our own data, genomic sequencing, it's just going to be hugely expensive. It might pretend, but it won't eventually. It's just kind of, it's not as popular as something like natural language processing that's used a lot at the moment. I mean, have we got any thoughts over here? There's a lot of nodding going on.
I'm just kind of like very interested in all these questions you guys have asked. For example, I never thought of people thinking about selling their genomic information to, for example, research institute or companies trying to get some studying going on, for example. So I think for me, for sharing the genomics data or how cheap the genomics data gonna be accessible for each of us, I think definitely will be more and more approachable and will be more likely to have lots of bifurcations help us to interpret the data. So looking forward to the future.
Looking forward to the future. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I don't know where you're coming from the approach. I don't know Mikey, of course.
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts on what we're talking to?
Yeah, I'm also interested into AI technologies. Me personally, I do see AI in the field of docking and predicting the proteins. I think I saw some people that are doing this, predicting the structure from the, meaning like it's not what AlphaFolding is doing. They are reverse engineering. Like they want a special 3D structure, and they are predicting the sequence somehow in reverse. That would be an interesting thing.
So you feel like yours will happen at a more like granular scientific level? I'll come back to you, but we have got a final thought behind me before we go.
I hope there will be more and more data scientists working in life science and especially for cancer, and will bring lots of hope for the patients. I'll be looking forward to that day.
Fantastic, that's a round of applause and advocacy for more data scientists in the field of genomics. Mike, you've been very patient, I'm going to you.
It strikes me that data, I mean obviously there's a quality of data, but it's not just the genomic data that's up for sale. It's pretty much every kind of data, your social data, your Fitbit data, your waking, sleeping data, your food purchases are all useful data, and to me that's the new currency, and even contemporary currency models like cryptocurrency it's more data, isn't it? So are we moving to a world where data actually just becomes a kind of currency in itself?
What do you think? Do we agree? Shake your head over here.
Yes, of course. We always knew that information is power, right? So, and data is essentially information. Of course, if you know something that other ones don't, well, you're better off. And answering your question about selling your genome, I don't think that genomes would sell that well without the metadata, without say your medical data, without anything else. Because genome itself is it's exciting, but same as with I don't know, your personal correspondence. If someone doesn't know you, doesn't know where you live, what you do, it's less useful.
Okay, so yeah, Mark, you're saying it's maybe a bit more like the context, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm just interested, because it seems to me earlier on today we were talking about, maybe not enough people take part in, not experiments where they don't donate their data because they don't understand how it works and how do we communicate that, how do we make sure that lots of people take part in it. And I do think that the way to, I'm not saying that's the right way to incentivize people, but I think it is a way to incentivize people by just offering them like financial remuneration, because you do see them with like blood donations and organ donations, or not organ donations, but like people who are in such dire situation financially, they actually see, and there is a pathway to capitalize on what you have by just the virtue of being human. But I do wonder whether it's more profitable then therefore to have a rare condition, the more, fucked I am in real life because I've got all these different multiple diseases, the more profitable that is to me. So I mean, that's what I want.
Okay, so if you have a rare genome, can you actually maybe take financial advantage?
What we need to organise is a data strike, where no one provides any data at all, and then we'll talk Turkey, like all the money in this festival, in all this industry, suddenly, will be in the data giver's hands. So I propose a data strike.
A data strike?
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible tomorrow a data strike?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so like data strike, let's not give away our data and we get it along first.
So I will be totally against this opinion, because I do think that we are, with the history, we progress, and today we have capitalism, and capitalism have created, in a way, these pharma companies. Now, these pharma companies, I don't think we need to look at them as a bad enemy, because their goal is to cure and help people in a way. So this organization, which is a billion, trillion dollar organization, which built by the public, which are public companies, and it's a collaborative effort to progress human beings. And I do think that we look at them as a big brother it's a very, it's coming from a certain academic, and I would go like Jordan Peterson direction, from a very left-wing academic wing, in order to, to deconstruct this capitalism big brother, and then we demonstrate against like data companies that they hold the data on us. Oh please. So I say like this is it's just I think it's a left-wing approach to science, and say, okay, this is an bad evil and holding progress, and we need to be very aware and the insurance companies, this is a catastrophe. So all this game of conversation, of going of big brothers, I think it's not progressing science, and I think it's just limiting our progress, because it seems like singularity is very near, and in the year 34, I think, we can get, with all the advantage and the math and the things that we do, we get to something that we actually can start and save all the millions of people that currently suffering. We're talking about, we look at EB Foundation, and people with skin diseases that have genetic mutation. We're talking about tens of thousands of them that currently children, and we have that we can cure, and we have so many diseases that we can cure, and I don't think that we need to look at it. We don't need to come in, especially in this conference. We don't need to come to this from this perspective of the. I don't think even it's right to have the conversation about the privacy of data, because privacy of data. So let's leave it to Zuckerberg and the American Democrats to argue. And I think here I think we should speak more about technology and advancement in technology and AI, and that's my direction.
Okay, yeah, so maybe concerns about privacy of data, is that being a bit left-wing in science? Is that a left-wing? Come and tell us your thoughts. You're sort of shaking your head, maybe you don't agree. Come and tell us your thoughts if so. I've got some thoughts from over here and then Rod.
Just a short answer. I think, yeah, you're right, but sometimes it's good to demolish everything to reconstruct it, because you can do it when you reconstruct things, you can do it in a better way. It's not about the evil or not evil. It's only the thing that if you're doing it again, it can be done better. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so actually maybe it's good to question the status quo, because you could actually build a whole better system. In a sort of, I was not shaking the head. You can go Rob first, and then I'll go over here.
I think it's a big mistake to think that the goals of pharma are to help the people. I think, as with any company, the goals of pharma is to make profit, and that's not even necessarily something that I blame pharma for. I think it's just the sort of shareholder system that companies operate within. And I think a lot of the time, because they're selling medication, those two things are aligned, helping people and making profit. But you can think of a ton of instances where they're not. I mean, for example, let's say if you could come up with a permanent cure for something versus some kind of ongoing medication that would treat it over time, I think there's zero incentive to cure it, because it's a one-time purchase that's going to stop. Whereas this ongoing preventative medication, I mean, you can just keep milking people for a ton of money. And it is a problem.
Can we get some beers around this table?
I just wanted to tell you if we can just drive the discussion in an area where what can we do with AI. And maybe this is because I think it will be very challenging in the future. Maybe that's more interesting instead of just debating some politics.
Okay, there we go, straight to that. You got some response, I guess?
Yes, so well, actually, privacy is important. I don't believe that companies should hold our genomic data. I don't believe we should incentivize people. Same as with the blood donations, which I believe universally in the world, no one is getting paid for donating blood. Plasma is a different thing, but full blood is always a charitable gift. Genomes also should be charitable gifts, and as such, they should be public domain. Metadata for the genomes is a different thing. And perhaps you could be incentivized for participating in panels, in focus groups, etc. And now about what AI can do for us, there's a lot that it can do. Because as we've already talked here, the amount of data that's available worldwide is stupendous, and it's growing exponentially. There's no one that can comprehend the entirety of the data, even concerning one patient. And all that AI models are, it's just a bunch of more or less sophisticated statistics that's able to draw some conclusions, some of which may not be that obvious for us. It's all pattern matching and so finding what's the most plausible explanation for what we see. And that's it. And AI models do their job really well.
Fantastic. Okay, I mean, loads of things to sort of unpick there. I'm going to go back to you there.
I will say about the AI, so many people say that AI is just, cluster analysis, or it's just this, or it's just this. But let's say it's beautiful, it's just math. So in the end, it's all just math. And what's happening, we see a revival of math in all Earth. Math is increasing. We call it AI, we call it cluster analysis, but it's beautiful. It's like it's the same as becoming to a place when music is becoming bigger and bigger on Earth. We're coming to a mass revival. Beautiful thing, a mass revival. And I think people that are working in the field of AI for drug discovery, for this, need to be proud of themselves. And it's beautiful what they're doing. And they are really artists that are going to change many things and people's lives. And I will look very positively on this direction. And don't need to worry about all the voices that will come and say data privacy, evil, this. I think it's every new technology have this resistance. And let's go to the direction of brainstorming on something cool instead of I'm dragging all the time into some kind of political arguments. Of course, if you want to comment as an artist, we can also go to this direction.
Where do you want to go with this? We're saying we want to sort of talk a bit more about what AI can do in the field. You'll maybe find that we're returning to political discussions around it. I wonder why that is. We were talking a little bit earlier about whether genomics research is quite gendered. Is there more research in women or men's health? So, for example, breast cancer's had a lot of research in there. We'll throw that in as a topic potentially. I don't know. Where do we want to go with this conversation, guys?
I mean, it's hard to, for me, I'm interested in this political question because I think there are some political questions here that have to be asked, and I think you're right about that. I'm not sure about your conclusions from the questions, but I do think, who has got access, or even who even understands the information, and, there's a lot of mistrust out there about science and about how these things work, rightly so, because many people around the world have been victims of scientific, of scientific claims that haven't come out the way they thought they were going to come out. And I'm definitely pro-science and pro this kind of thing, but I think there's always the other side of the values that are involved in it, and obviously our values are going to evolve. And but things like company structures haven't really evolved for 200 odd years. We have the same way a company is formed and the same kind of profit motive. Most of the scientists that I know go into science not to make money, but actually to do research. But then when you talk to them, all they talk about is funding. I've got this funding, got that funding, and this funding. So it's a weird kind of perverted world we live in where those scientists can't actually do that science in a more natural kind of way.
Okay, so there's sort of pressure about sort of funding for science. Remind me of your name, and you have to go, so give us your final thoughts.
So I'm Martin. And you're right. Science and money shouldn't really go hand in hand, but they do. And my final thought is that a lot of us are paranoid about our data. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of we need to work towards more transparency where our data goes and who has access to it. We should work towards things like federated learning, so being able to learn on your data without people actually disclosing your personal information. And there's a future in that. But I believe that whatever we do, in 10, 20 years time from now, most of the people will be sequenced with their genomes publicly available, not necessarily public, but publicly available, and we'll see complete revolution in healthcare, hopefully for the better.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So brilliant, that's a good final thought to leave us. I'm going to do a quick round of names. We've got you to face at the table. What's your name?
James Stevens.
James Stevens, there we go. James.
Mikey.
Mikey.
Alexandru. And I'm going to leave you now.
Okay, leave us with the final thought, Alexandru. Here we go.
Okay, so I was, when I discovered ChatGPT a few months ago, I was impressed about what can be done. I heard in the last weeks that people were doing a lot of AI in the zone of biology predictions, and I think this is amazing. I hope it's going to be a nice future. I'm not afraid of AI, and I think it can solve a lot of problems. And I'm very happy that and I hope, I can tell you that 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I went to the Singularity Foundation that are thinking about what is going to happen when the AI is going to become the most powerful intelligence in the earth. And of course I've read all the scenarios, what can happen when AI is going to get there, but I'm not afraid of it, and I am thinking from that moment, maybe 15 years ago, that the singularity is going to happen, and I'm going to be contemporary with this event. And I was thinking, like, if it's true that I will be the last human being on Earth, because AI is going to take control, at least my existence is going to mean something, like, because I will be different from my ancestors, no? I will be the last one. So I'm not afraid. The other scenario is like the AI can be very friendly. You can do a lot of good things. Oh, yeah. Just why not to? Okay, I will just take 2 more minutes just to follow up the answers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Margaret, you've got some follow-ups onto that.
I mean, I was talking to some people who deal with AI, and they were saying that, the fact whether AI is friendly or unfriendly, is it going to kill us all or whatever, they were saying that actually us as humans, we project our fears onto the AI, and that's just completely wrong. AI is AI, and our fears are our fears, so we shouldn't fear. I feel worried still.
Marty's already got a response to that.
As people said before, AI is just huge statistic, like mega statistics. And when the statistics ever killed anybody, do you know what I mean? It can be boring, but that's the whole point of AI, is it does a boring stuff, I really don't understand why people feel threatened by this, because why would AI want to kill us? It would run out of data, wouldn't it? It wants data, and by killing people, it's eliminating the data.
Okay, have you got any responses to this? I mean, James, you also looked a bit sceptical, so I might go to you next.
I just want to make a short comment about this philosophical discussion. And I just want to send a message to all the people that are opposing the AI. It's and the moment when this technology is going to get to a certain point that will be able to provide some very important tools for the humans in order to help some humans, hurting somebody else, then probably some people will try to make AI forbidden, or to restrict it, to do it, illegal or something like that. Just wanted to tell you that this will also be impossible, and it will also be futile. Resistance is futile, because it will be always somebody, a dictator or somebody else, that will have enough money. And if this AI technology will be cheap enough, that can be run in a garage, and that can do things like yeah, that even if you are forbidding it, then it will go like that.
Brilliant. I mean, I think, well, again, there's loads of things. Come and join us. We're talking about AI, kind of the future impact of AI. And then actually, Mike, you said a bit earlier, AI is just big statistics. And when has statistics killed anyone? James, you look quite skeptical at that comment.
Well, I think fear is a very strong emotion. It's always a thing which captures people's attentions more than anything, which is why all news headlines are all bad news, because it captures your attention on the basis of fear. When any new technology comes along, especially in the biotech market, it's always sort of perceived with a bit of fear from the general public. You think about being able to do recently the whole genome sequencing, the idea of the problems that could do, how people would use it and stuff like that. And for me, AI at the minute, AI hasn't worked out how to tick a box saying I'm not a robot. So in terms of fear, I don't think we've got anything to worry about in the immediate future. But there probably are some concerns, but I think most of it is not going to have a particular drive to do negative things. It's going to want to churn this, it's AI for playing chess games. They're going to keep kind of playing lots of chess games, isn't it? So I think that it depends on what algorithm is used for.
It depends on its role. It actually might have got a narrow focus.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how computing has helped in statistics and stuff like that, it's allowed massive leap forwards. The bioinformatics is crucial to all NGS workflows and stuff like that, and AI is like a natural progression for that. So people got their hands up. So
yeah, we'll go into that. I think I've got a response over here. Alon,
I have many things to say. I agree, of course, what you say, and I just want to say a remark on that about statistics. That perhaps you should look again at the Terminator movies, 1, 2, 3. And if you look at carefully at Terminator movie, then I looked at that, and what you see, like for example, when you play now with image generation, like DALI or like Mid Journey. And you make the images, it's a step, and it's already happening. The 3D models are already happening, accessing to everybody. Now, you already see companies in Canada that tells the AI, build me a robot, build me like an engine. And you see like a beautiful platina, like a whole engine, amazing. Now the distance from like creating a whole robot is so little that you don't understand. So right now, somewhere in the world, you can tell the AI, can you build me the whole robot? And you can also give it the software and everything. And the AI can actually 3D print model now the whole engine and the mechanism of the robot. I don't know how companies like Boston Dynamics going to deal with something like that. But it's so close that same as we creating now images, which is unbelievable quality. I don't know if you guys play with image generation, it's unbelievable quality. To making like a whole machine, it's easy and it's look like so easy. And when you look at the big 3D printing actually engines and metals, it's crazy what's going to happen. And we're talking about a few years. When's the robot's going to emerge? Each one can build his own robot. This is what we're dealing in a few years now. And I don't want to say bad or good, it doesn't matter. I think people use AI, they just use fear in order like to market and sell. In the same way, and we need to look at good because it's also going to create a lot of good things. But I wanted to say that I've been going around and looking at the AI models here. Where is the AI model of genetics? I want to see like there are many big companies, huge companies, and everybody running with the AI. So let's make a competition. And I'm proposing, let's make a competition. I don't know who will hear us now, but I own the genetictesting.com. So this is the main industry domain. So I will do a competition. Let's do a competition. Who has the best AI in genetics? I haven't seen something so impressive. So let's see what actually is and make a competition. I can give a sequence from 23andMe and what data I can actually get, which is big data, serious data from the AI system all around. Until now, I didn't see something so amazing, but when I'm looking around, I will be happy to see if somebody knows and somebody's seen any model. We'll be happy very much that you share. What have you seen that is like crazy and amazing in this field of AI and genetics?
Okay, so you're saying almost like there's a gap in the market that you don't think exists right now. I mean, we've got some people who maybe work in different areas, different fields. I mean, do you have an answer for along? You know, do you think there's over here? Oh, great, Mikey. Which one? Over here.
I just got a point which is like maybe slightly philosophical. It kind of made me think this whole conversation about AI, and something that you touched on. I think you said something about, you know, if you were the last person on planet Earth, at least your life would have meaning because or something like that. And I think people do want to make meaning. You know, they want to make meaning with their lives, with their actions. Maybe they want to have some kind of legacy and that kind of stuff. And I wonder whether AI strips us of that possibility.
The philosophy AI that can do all the philosophy, just read through all the philosophy books and, you know, every single philosophy book that's been written and actually produce new philosophy based and maybe it will give us some more meaning in our lives.
You've got a response here. You think that no, there's no such thing as a philosophy AI. I'll go for change first.
Well, how I was speaking about on that in terms of AI and how to use it and what to be done. I remember an article written in an esteemed publication of high level security. I think it's called the Daily Mail, so it's very trustworthy. It was talking about CRISPR and how that was used, and it was pretty horrendous reading it as a scientific person doing it. It was basically at the end of it, it's about time they put this technology back in the box, something else to be outraged about. Which I thought was a brilliant sort of solution. There's about 1.3 Chinese people and they're heading rapidly down in this genetic thing. It's like, these things are out there and they exist. So you can be in AI or you cannot be in AI. I would say you better be riding the crest of the technology rather than letting somewhere else do it. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. So you either do it yourselves or somebody else will do it. Maybe more sinister.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. It could be unstoppable. It could definitely be unstoppable. What do you think? What do you think about the Chinese guy that did the CRISPR on the two twins? Yes. The name is Zhang Kui, I think. Yeah. Yes, with the HIV editing, I think they edited the receptor of the HIV, and the kids are immune to this. But I don't know what is the story. Is he in jail or he's like arrested at the domicile or something like that? What do you know about it?
Yeah. So what are people's opinions on that case? Do they feel like it was ethical? Was it ethical? What happened to him afterwards?
Share a lot about this topic of gene editing. So I've been to the conference in Washington. There is a conference, ASGC. I don't know if you guys know this conference. So this is mainly for drug development, gene editing, and there is, and you see already like a few drugs already have been approved, FDA approved for gene editing, like if it's beta thalassemia, you say, and if it's like some type of ALS. Those you can take, so you see already cure for children that are born with some muscular dystrophy, and they're getting cured. But the shot costs like $2 million, but for the taxpayer. But children are getting cured for full gene editing. Now there are hundreds or thousands of drugs in the pipeline for gene editing, and this is very exciting. So CRISPR is not approved yet. It's not approved by the FDA.
Yeah.
But there are many that are. So gene editing is already happening. So the idea of CRISPR is like something that's going to change everything. It's already happening. You can have AAV vectors and you can have different delivery mechanisms, and you can change different sequences, and you can actually, and if a scientist really wants, you can deliver already a drug to a full human being and make a full body gene modification. If it's with a lipid nanoprotein, or so there are ways to already do a full gene editing in a human being, and there are many drugs on the way. And the idea of CRISPR, all the time, the idea that they give the CRISPR in the news, it's just uninformed. They don't know what's happening. So just the idea of like in China, they just don't know what's happening in gene editing. It's already happening.
Okay,
it's already happening. It's not like these CRISPR babies. It's already happening all over the world. So now the problem is that the FDA is really hard It's not hard, it's just very expensive. Now, it's very expensive to get this drug to the market. Now, but although it's very expensive, we have pioneers, and we can look at, for example, I don't know if you know Eddie Vedder for Pearl Jam, or so we see like how some artists are using their powers in order to take certain disease, and for example, EP Foundation with Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder are trying to push and finance these drugs, that these drugs are in the pipeline. So each one is like 50 million. But all of them are in the pipeline, and we have many of them of full-body genetic modification.
I'm going to pause you, Jen, just because I'm aware that James, that you need to go. So give us a final thought before you leave, and we're going to return back to this.
Well, I think the gene editing compounds which are coming through could make a tremendous difference to people's lives. The problem is the horrendous cost of those at the minute, which hopefully will come down over time. I think any research should be done fully ethically and shouldn't just plough into humans, which may have been done elsewhere. But I'd say for assessing accessibly CRISPR, I would highly recommend using our digital PCR platform to do so. That would be my preference. I'm in no way financially motivated to
Yeah, what is your PCR?
I work for a company called Stiller Technologies from Paris. So we have a digital PCR system which allows for really, really high multiplex assays with really high sensitivity. So that's why I'm using it. So thank you for that. Have a great evening, everybody. I'm sorry I can't stay long.
No, thank you for your contributions, James. Thank you. All right, and then I had maybe some time for final thoughts on that note. So I think let's start over here with a final thought. Your final thought.
Yeah. It's thanks for the nice talk, and just we'll see how the future is going to develop. But I'm thankful. And I think everybody should be thankful that we are living in an era where actually I think there is a discovery every minute. And you have to think about it that our ancestors just were waiting. Gregor Mendel waited like 1 year to see how the results were from his genetic crossing. So, well, think about it, about that. Goodbye.
Goodbye, mic drop. Thank you very much.
I will add to it the final thought, and I will say is that if you're a patient and you suffer and you have like his family members that suffer, just so you know, there are thousands of drugs now in the pipelines, and you just need to find them. And there are tens of thousands that didn't pass the regulation. But you always have hope, and it's very easy, and many of the things are just easy to do and easy to get this medical treatment, but the problem is nobody will ever give it to you. So you need to find it on your own and find the scientists, but there is a way for almost for everything, so never lose hope, and try to do your research and find out which laboratory in the world deal with the subjects that you are involved with, and that's what I will say.
Thank you a lot. I think that's a round of applause. Final time for getting involved in science at whatever level, which I really like to hear at Talkaoke as well. We've got any final thoughts over here? We'll go with Margot, your final thought.
I think my final thought is about fluidity of thought, and I think today we had, throughout the day, we had all sorts of different voices, and I think it has just been a great privilege to be part of this centre of the universe, even if it's not true, but if we just suppose that this is the centre of the universe for one moment, it's been a really great one.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Rod, have you got a final thought?
I just wanted to ping back to a comment we were talking about, AI philosophers. And there's actually this sort of fad on Twitter where I think you can basically get these, so that you could take someone like Gandhi, for example, and you plug all of his writings into an algorithm, and you have a Twitter account that is like Gandhi bot or whatever, and he will just tweet out machine learned Gandhi style phrases, and they're really annoyingly good in the sense that they are kind of, if you don't know much about the person, it just sounds legit and funny and insightful, and it's total, there's no thought behind it. It's amazing. I think it's really crazy.
I like that part as well. Alon, you want to jump in on that quickly?
I will jump in and say, that OpenAI, like 2 weeks ago, so half of the crew left, and they make a new company which is ethical, and the ethical company, and they have like 10 commandments, And the Ten Commandments, you need to be, so it's AI is actually a combination of Gandhi and Nelson Mandela combined into one. This is part of the Ten Commandments of the new ChatGPT or whatever AI is building. But this is like, also when you talk to ChatGPT now, you see it's ethics. Try to ask him difficult question. He's programmed with a certain ethics. So the certain ethics, he answer you as probably Gandhi or somebody like that. But it's written Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. I don't know if it's good or not, but this is what this is where we're going.
Yeah, there we go. And Mike, your final thought.
I don't think we need to fear that AI will kill us all, but maybe we need to fear that AI will take over the government, and if it did, I'm pretty sure it would be a communist government, which is probably not something that any of us want.
That is a big final thought to end on. Margaret, do you want to respond to that?
I don't think it would be communism. I mean, there'll be basically that's what we would vote. Yeah. But we don't need AI to come up with that anyway. I think this is where we're going anyway. So it's like cancels it out.
So, if you want to find out about whether if AI took over the government and became communist, would it be communist? You might not be able to find that out tonight, but you can find it out tomorrow. ChatGPT, what kind of government would AI instill? Yes, I think we need to find out. In the meantime, whilst you're asking this, we are Talkaoke, we're sort of wrapping up for today, but you can find us tomorrow at 11 a.m. Same place, same time. Go and see some talks, come here, tell us what you thought. We're Talkaoke. Follow us on the People Speak on Instagram, on Facebook. I've been Evie. Thanks to Mikey, thanks to Margaret, thanks to Rod, thanks to Lon, and to everyone who's taken part today. Mic drop over and out. Well done, Evie.